Hey friends, sure hope this finds you doing well, and wanted to just take a few minutes to encourage you from chapter number 1 of the book of Philippians. In this book, Paul, who's going through a time of great persecution and tribulation, he spent many months and years actually in prison, suffering for the gospel. He tells the people that he's going to rejoice. Seems counterintuitive to us that when you're going through hard times or suffering or persecution to rejoice, but that's exactly what he shows us to do. Then in verse number 19, he says, "For I know that through your prayers and the help of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, this will turn out for my deliverance. As it is my eager expectation and hope that I will not be at all ashamed, but that with full courage, now as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If I am to live in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet which I shall choose, I cannot tell. I am hard pressed between the two. My desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that is far better. But to remain in the flesh is more necessary on your account." Well, I hope that as you hear this passage, that you'll remember, no matter what difficult circumstances that you find yourself in from time to time, the Christian approaches these with a different mindset, and they rejoice. They choose to rejoice. But he had this great confidence that he was going to be delivered in response to the prayers of the saints. That he would be delivered. And he said, "It's my eager expectation and hope that I will not be at all ashamed, but that with full courage, now as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death." He had a confident expectation that Christ in him would be his strength in weakness, be his courage in the face of great hostility. But he says this thing that's amazing to me. He says, I want Christ to be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. How transformative would it be that in all of our life, it was our single-minded passion that Christ be honored in our bodies, in his living, in his service, and even in his death, that all would work to bring glory to God. And he says some very powerful words in verse 21. He says, "For me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain." So would you take a minute and just contemplate, meditate on this idea that for me to live is, what's the answer? You see, in the world, we can get all caught up in thinking for me to live is wealth and possessions or vacations or 100 other things. But Paul modeled for us as disciples of Jesus Christ, as the children of God, as those who seek the King and his kingdom, was that we should be living moment by moment simply to Christ. For me to live is Christ. So that Christ, who is our life, every hour that we have breath, is simply to be an expression of his indwelling life, a surrendered vessel to what he wants to do both in me and through me. For me to live is Christ. To die is no threat. To die is gain. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. But for every moment of every day, let every other distraction be removed. To live is Christ. Whatever he desires to do in and through us, to Christ. Surrender to him as he wants to live and express his life through us. In verse 22, he says, if I am to live in the flesh, that just means the physical body. If I'm going to live in this earth suit, that means fruitful labor for me. So he said, like, every day that I have left on this planet is a day in which I can live and express the indwelling life of God. It is a life of fruitful labor for my King and for his kingdom. And then he says, listen, I don't know what I really should choose. I'm hard pressed. One part of me, my deep desire is to go and to experience the full presence of God. But to remain is necessary for you. And so Paul realized that even though he was imprisoned and persecuted, that he had some time left, and that was good for them. So today, for you to live is, and if it's anything other than Christ, we need to stop and check and say, Lord, I don't want to be distracted by the pursuits of the world, the materialism that's so enticing. For me to live is simply Christ, who is my life, expressing his life through me in pursuit of my King and his kingdom. And I think when we find that as our pursuit, we won't even look at death the same way. We'll look at death as, wow, that's my gain. But in the meantime, let every day be fruitful labor for the King and his kingdom. I hope you have a great rest of the week and a wonderful weekend. I'll hope to see you soon. God bless. I love you.